Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today, we are going to talk about 3 things that I think clients and 3 things that I think coaches could do to make life better and easier for everybody. I actually was recently going through all of the videos that I was creating for this month and realized that I had an open spot. So I went over to Instagram, I asked you guys for some ideas, and shout out to Liza for giving me this one. I'm always trying to make video content on things you actually want to know about. So if you have a video idea, I want you to drop it in the comments right now. And while you're doing that, I'll introduce myself really quickly. My name's Justina. I'm a New York City personal trainer based out of New York City, and I have worked with thousands of people in one-on-one settings, online, as well as in group fitness classes. I've been in the fitness industry since 2016, so at this point, almost 10 years, and I feel like I have a few good ideas of how to make our lives easier between clients and coaches. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right into the coach aspect. So we're gonna start with 3 things I think coaches can do to make a better experience for their clients. Number 1, check your attitude. I am absolutely guilty of this every once in a while, but you gotta check yourself at the door. If you've had a shitty day or bad sleep, or you're tired, or you have personal shit going on, I don't wanna say that nobody cares, and I don't wanna say that your client doesn't care, but it's not necessarily the right time to bring that along with you. Because in that moment, you are supposed to be there for them, not the other way around. And I'm not saying that you can't share. Like I have a great rapport with a lot of my clients. We talk about our personal lives. So if I have something going on, I will, talk about it with my client if it naturally comes up during a session, but I'm not gonna bring an attitude along with it. Now for me personally, what I've been really guilty of every once in a while is actually more so if a client comes in with just low energy or not in a great mood. And sometimes I will catch myself matching that energy in a session. Sometimes it's just because I think that's a human thing to do. You kind of chameleon to the energy around you. But sometimes I found myself having an attitude because I'm reacting to the bad energy or negative energy or low energy or whatever of a client coming in. That's especially a no-no. When you feel that creeping in, you have to push that down, because here's the deal. Let's say your client comes in and they're running late or they're rushed or whatever, and they have bad energy and they're just not paying attention to details or whatever. You probably don't know what's going on with them. You probably don't know what caused that energy or that attitude or that unfocusedness that you're seeing in the session. They probably feel shitty about something. They probably feel shitty about coming in with a shitty attitude. So why are you going to make them feel shittier for treating them like shit? You know what I'm saying? They still paid for that session. And your goal is obviously to help them reach theirs. But I also feel your goal should be they should leave feeling at least 1% better than when they walked in the door. I don't believe that the goal of a trainer is just to get people looking like they have a BBL and shredded abs. I believe that one of our purposes as trainers is to help people build lifelong habits around training, even when life is shitty. So if Sally comes into her session feeling like shit because she got yelled at work, she's overwhelmed with the cost of childcare, and she's running late, and you make her feel shittier on top of all of that, how's that helping? If you are one of my clients and I have been grumpy during a session, it's my bad. All right, moving into number 2. You got to be flexible. I'm specifically thinking of this in the lens of programming. So let's say your client comes in, they tell you they only had 3 hours of sleep, they don't feel that great, and you had a deadlift PR scheduled. Yeah, you're not doing that today. As someone who programs and in a way of zooming out and looking at the big picture and kind of does progressions each week and what we're building toward, I get that can be frustrating because then, immediately in your head, you're like, oh, well now the whole plan's off. But we have to remember that it's not about you. It's about them. And they don't need to throw their back out because they're half asleep and not creating proper tension to attempt a PR just so that they stay on schedule with your programming. Just like you've zoomed out and looked at the bigger picture of how we're progressing week to week with this client, I would say zoom out even further and specifically look at this person's fitness routine. Is one day of changing up someone's program really gonna do much? No. What is going to do much is if you have them attempt a deadlift PR, they throw out their back, they don't see you for a few weeks, and now they're afraid of deadlifts. Now, maybe that halts their training, right? I think the more important part is understanding and teaching your clients, showing your clients how to continue a movement routine and just adapt things when you're not feeling great or you didn't sleep well or if you are dealing with some pain. So in a situation like this, you can still work on deadlifts, just maybe not super heavy. Maybe you're just greasing the groove. Finding some things that are a little less taxing on the nervous system, I think are key in situations where clients come in with bad sleep, with low energy, or they're just not feeling great. Always remember that it's not the programming that's going to make or break a client building a long-term habit. This is all about building that habit of showing up. All right, and finally, number 3, Don't impose your goals on your client. You see this sometimes of coaches basically just like training clients the way that they train and not really paying attention to like what the goals are that person came in with. I've had clients come work with me before saying that they worked with a trainer, but they didn't really like their style because they had them on a bodybuilding split, when like Betty's just a mom who works 9 to 5 who just wants to look and feel a little bit better. And look, I think there is definitely a component of like, this is my ideology and my belief system, but that also shouldn't override what a client came to you for. For instance, personally, I love kettlebells. If there was a way for me to only train kettlebells forever with everybody, I would do that. But a number of my clients don't really have any interest in like utilizing kettlebells, whether it's holding them for overhead presses because they don't like the way that it feels on their wrist or their shoulder, or whether it's like they don't want to do any type of skill work. So you know what? I'm not gonna put kettlebells in their programming. You know, maybe we'll do it for like a bent over row or a goblet squat, because typically I find those are a lot more comfortable for people than dumbbells. You gotta make sure you're really paying attention to what the client asked for, and then you can use your own, you know, ideologies and education and background to shape the way that they get there. All right, now the part that everyone's probably waiting for. We're gonna talk on the client end. I just wanna say, if you're one of my clients or you've worked with me before, this is not shade, there is no bad blood. We're doing this as like education right here. So the first one is to be on time. Honestly, to me, this is just a respect thing. Yes, I understand, like if you're late for a session, your coach is like getting paid to sit there and wait for you, obviously, but I would hope a coach isn't sitting there being like, yes, I get paid to sit here now. Like that's not great. You know, when you're late, that's like stuff we can't work on, obviously, but here's what I usually see happening when someone's late. They're gonna come in late, they feel bad or they feel frazzled, and then usually what I see is people are trying to rush through their warm-up because they're like, well, I just wanna get to the workout. And you know what, in my head, that is not how it works at all, because your warm-up is specifically programmed to prep you for what we're gonna get to. I'm not skipping any of that. We're doing the exact same warm-up, the full warm-up. You're gonna lose out on some of the strength work because cutting the warm-up is not safe. And look, I also just wanna take a second and acknowledge, like, I am a childless woman with little to no responsibility outside of myself. So I'm not even saying like, if you're ever late for something, that's bad. Because I understand, like, you know, maybe your kids got out of school late, or you hit traffic, or your boss yelled at you, or like whatever it is, right? I'm just trying to acknowledge, like, I have a lot of freedom and privilege to be on time, and there's a lot of outside factors that I'm fully aware of. That's why I'm typically pretty chill if people are running late. I just ask, like, if you're gonna be more than 10 minutes, just let me know so I'm not sitting there wondering if you're gonna show up. Shit happens, but the more open communication there is, the better. And this kind of leads me into my second point, which is when you come into your session, take a breath. So again, we already kind of talked about like someone coming in late and maybe they're frazzled or they're feeling panicked because you were waiting. Or maybe you just come in late, frazzled, and like your stress bucket is all the way up here for any reason. If your nervous system is all the way fired up here, I'm gonna take the first 5 minutes and just try to bring you down and center you. Instead of rushing through your warm-up, instead of trying to get to the bulk of the workout as quickly as possible, take a breath. And if your trainer doesn't take that time to bring your energy down a little bit before we jump into the bulk of it and just kind of like recenter you, ask them, can I foam roll for 5 minutes at the beginning? Can we take 5 minutes just to breathe and kind of center everything? I know that might sound counterintuitive because you think when you're going into a workout, you wanna like ramp up the energy. But that I have found a lot of times like causes our focus to kind of be all over the place, and we wanna take that time in the warm-up to center our focus. So I'm not saying that we need to be doing like passive stretches and we need to calm the nervous system all the way down to like a cool down state, but we don't wanna start up here because then there's nowhere else to go. And this all kind of leads me into my final point. Give us feedback. You know, I just talked about, you know, if you come in and you're feeling really frazzled, asking your trainer, can we foam roll for 5 minutes just so we can lower our stress bucket? That's some great feedback. Let us know what you need. Let us know what you're feeling or how you're feeling, what you like, what you don't like. A lot of this information really helps us craft like a curated session and a curated program and experience for you, which is the point here, right? We want one-on-one training. We want one-on-one customization and attention. One of my clients does a really good job job of this. When we work together virtually, she will tell me if I give a cue that really resonated with her. Oh, that cue of pinching the thighs together on the way back up out of my reverse lunge really helped me find my stability at the top. I go, amazing. And I literally write that down in her program underneath the next day so that I know right when I start cueing her, pinch the thighs together. So we don't need to waste all of this time finding different cues that work and click. We can get right into the bulk of it. You know, another example of this, if you see a machine at the gym that looks intriguing and you don't know how to use it, but you want to learn, let your coach know. I think we're starting to see how a lot of these tie together from like the coach aspect that we talked about in the beginning of the video. But we really want to make sure that we're building a program that not only helps you reach your goals, but also keeps you excited to show up and it's just something you enjoy. Again, the goal to me is about helping people create these lifelong habits and achieve whatever goals they came in with. And I firmly believe that if coaches and clients can implement these things on either end and communicate a little bit better, we can get there. So anyway, that's the video. Thank you again to Liza for the video idea. Again, if you guys have any videos that you would like to see, leave them down in the comments below. There's also a little search bar at the top of my YouTube page. So if you're unsure if I've made the video before, you can always check for it. Again, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and I will see you in the next one.